Hi there. Welcome to Learning English through news highlights using microlearning. Today, we're going to talk about a story from Sports Illustrated, what we learned in NFL Wildcard Round. Quarterback narratives can change quickly. Don't worry if you're not a sports fan or new to English. This is your chance to learn both football stories and useful English vocabulary. Let's dive in.
That's right. The article talks about how quickly the story about a quarterback, also called a signal caller, can change during the football playoffs. We'll explain what that means and break it down step by step, including the tricky vocabulary and phrases. It'll be fun and helpful, so stay with us.
First, let's talk about the phrase quarterback narratives. A quarterback is the player in American football who leads the game for their team. They pass the ball, call plays, and make big decisions. And narrative means the story about someone or something. So, quarterback narratives means the story or reputation about how good or bad a quarterback is.
Yes, and the article explains that these narratives can change very quickly, especially during the playoffs. In other words, people might think a quarterback is great one week and not so great the next, depending on their performance. Let's look at an example. Imagine a quarterback throws 3 touchdowns in one game, everyone thinks they're amazing. But in the next game, if they make a mistake, like throwing an interception, people might suddenly see them as not reliable.
Exactly. Another great example is C.J. Stroud, mentioned in the article. During the regular season, the main part of the NFL year, he wasn't talked about much because his team wasn't doing well. But in the playoffs, even players like him can suddenly become important again if they perform well. It's a reminder that anything can happen during the playoffs.
Now, let's slow down a bit and explain another key phrase, sluggish passing game. Sluggish means slow or not very active. It's used for when something isn't happening as well or as quickly as it should. For example, if you have a sluggish morning, it means you're moving slowly and feeling lazy. In football, a sluggish passing game means the team isn't throwing the ball well.
That's a good one to know. The article says the Eagles had a sluggish passing game. This could be a problem for them during the playoffs because passing is such an important part of football. It's like trying to do well on a test when you're tired. It's harder to succeed.
Speaking of problems, the article also mentions the Buccaneers, the team from Tampa Bay. It says they need defensive upgrades. Defensive refers to defense, or the part of the team that stops the other team from scoring points. And upgrades means improvements. So, the Buccaneers need to make their defense better if they want to win more games.
A simple way to understand upgrade is to think about technology. If you have an old phone and get a new, better one, that's an upgrade. The Buccaneers need to upgrade their defense like you might upgrade your phone.
That's such a great way to explain it. Now, let's talk briefly about why this news matters. The NFL playoffs are a big deal in football, and how each player performs can affect their career a lot. It's not just about winning, it's also about how people see you, your narrative.
And this idea of narratives isn't just for sports. Everyone has a narrative in life. For example, at work, if you are always on time and do good work, your narrative might be that you're dependable. But if you're late a lot, people might think you're unreliable. Narratives can change just like in football.
Before we finish, let's review some key vocabulary and phrases we learned today. First, we talked about quarterback, which is the main player responsible for leading a football team. Then we explained narratives, meaning the story or reputation about someone or something.
We also learned sluggish, which describes something slow or not very active, and upgrades, meaning improvements. And don't forget, defensive refers to defense or protecting something, like how the Buccaneers need to improve their defense.
That's all for today's lesson on learning English through NFL news. Remember, you're doing great, and every new word or phrase is a step forward. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.